Can I ask you a question, Patty, till we get started?
Baby, you can ask me anything you want.
Okay, so I have a detailed schedule from a remodeler on, they're going to be in the property for approximately 4 weeks, 5 days a week or something. So do I just provide that via a 24-hour notice to my tenant, and I don't have to provide a daily 24-hour notice?
No, so what you do is you're going to cheat is provide a 24-hour notice, but tell them that the start, you know how you can put the date in there?
Yeah.
Put from and to.
Oh, okay.
That way one notice covers that whole 4 weeks.
Okay, but it's not every single day because they don't come on Sunday. Is that okay?
Just
So how do you
put
do
from and to, that way it covers business hours during that 4 weeks.
Okay, and what are considered business hours?
Monday through Friday, 8 to 6.
8 to 6. What if I need access on Saturday?
You can ask for it, but they don't have to give it. And
Okay.
and Lee, let's really have a conversation here, okay? If they don't give you access, then your recourse is to serve them with a 3-day curable breach of covenant, a new 24-hour notice to enter. If they still don't allow access, your recourse is to evict. You can't right now.
Yeah.
The legal system right now, forgive me for saying this, doesn't exist. It's gone. I mean, it's the nicest way that I could come up with. It disappeared. It vanished. They're closed.
Yeah, well, in this case, it's a substantial remodel, and I think by law it would be covered. But the thing is, it's still a 60-day notice, I guess. I don't know. So
I know. And the thing is you can't get them out right now. And they keep adding time to the eviction moratorium. And that's
yes.
one of the things that I want to talk about today is I need you guys to stop going to your normal resources and recourse and start not thinking outside of the box, but outside of the building. In other words, the legal system has abandoned us currently. And my theory is the nicer we play with the tenant, the nicer we'll be able to get things done on our own without needing that service. So
Yeah.
my goal is to get everybody on that page so that they can function that way and avoid legal.
Okay, but if I get an agreement in writing that she will provide access Monday through Saturday during the remodel, then that's good enough, and then I could use that in the notice because she already agreed to it?
Yeah, just put on the notice so that you've done your job. If she agrees to it in writing, that's a separate document. Just make sure you do the notice from and to with 4 weeks worth of dates in there.
Okay, and times, right?
Well, I just put business hours Monday through Friday, 8 to 6.
Okay.
And then that should cover you. If she lets you in on a weekend, then she lets you in on a weekend. I don't want to go back to on a Saturday, but let's go on a Saturday. If she says, yeah, sure, no problem, just go do it. If you get there and she says no, leave. Keep it simple. Keep it real simple. Because if you have to serve a notice every time, you're just spinning your wheels chasing paper. The notices are unenforceable in court. We don't have, So it's kind of like, I don't want to tell you to make your rules up as you go along, but that's kind of what we need to do.
Okay.
That's kind of what we need to do. Are you giving her some sort of a rent credit? I'm just curious.
Yes, in fact, I'm giving it to her tomorrow. I'm tossed, but she has no access to the kitchen, so I'm tossed between giving her 25% rent credit or more. What do you think?
She has no access to the kitchen?
No.
So she's going to be without a kitchen for a month?
Oh, for much longer than that. She's been without a kitchen for a month now.
Okay, she doesn't owe rent.
No, it's considered, she works for a property management company and it's partially uninhabitable, and therefore she has to pay due to loss of service. So her boss agrees with me, so she's going to pay partial rent, but I just haven't given her the percentage.
Okay. Do you see my face?
Well, I know she should be moving. Who could?
She should either be moving, or you should be technically putting her in a hotel and giving her a daily rent credit. If she's willing to stay there and work through this, I'd give her half off of her rent.
Okay.
But you need to know, for the big picture, she doesn't know any rent.
Well, I could put like a laundry sink in the kitchen and rehook the range up. So then what percent would you charge?
Then it's an inconvenience, 1/3.
Then a third. Okay.
I do it at a third. I usually break it. It's either a third, half, or all of it for me.
Okay. Okay.
Is what I do. And I call it an inconvenience fee, because if she has a stove and she has a sink, it's not a habitability issue.
Okay.
Okay. It's an
Okay.
inconvenience.
Okay. Then my next question is, if so I'm doing $100,000 remodel. Once it's done, she's month to month. Can I raise her rent? She hasn't had a rent increase for over a year.
Is she susceptible to AB 1482?
No, it's exempt.
Thank you. You're going to have to wait until we see where COVID is. We can still no longer do any rent increases because of COVID.
It's Orange County. Is that still true?
Yes, absolutely.
It's statewide. Oh.
State.
Okay.
So once COVID's lifted, let's have that conversation again, just to keep you safe, because we also have to worry about the state of emergency and price gouging. I just don't want to set you up for failure.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So let's wait until the state of emergency is lifted, or I'm sorry, let's wait till the shelter in place is lifted, and then we'll go from there. Is that fair enough? Because I'd love to give you an answer right now, but honestly, yeah. I don't have one. There's too many bouncing balls.
So if you would consider that the place is uninhabitable right now, even though I say it's partially uninhabitable, is that going to be
no use of stove is complete habitability issue. No oven or stove is a habitability issue, hands down.
What about sink?
Just the stove alone is a habitability issue. Add the sink into it, you're back to a habitability issue. Plumbing is a habitability issue.
I know, but there's plumbing in the rest of the house.
I know, I understand that. That's why I said, if you can get her a sink and a stove, now it's an inconvenience.
Okay.
I'm trying, baby. I'm trying. I'm letting
okay. So what I worry about is if I raise the rent even after COVID or whenever it's safe, is she going to claim retaliatory eviction?
You're not evicting her, you're raising the rent.
Oh, that's different? That it's not constructive retaliatory eviction or something?
Hold on, you could cause a constructive eviction if you doubled the rent or raised it considerably on her in one lump. So we're going to have to cross that bridge when we come to it. How much is her rent now?
It's 25% below market at $3,400.
Okay, at $3,400. And what would you want to raise it to after the remodel?
I think the remodel is worth about $500 a month extra.
I don't see that as being a problem.
Okay.
Fair enough?
What do you normally charge for a drop-dead gorgeous remodel in a single-family house that's huge, you know?
Well, that depends on depends on the area. It depends on the market. It depends. It depends.
Yeah. So you know, the average market rent's $4,500 for a remodel kitchen.
Right. So bringing you up to average isn't unfeasible. It's less than $1,000, and I don't see that as being an issue.
Yeah, I can support it. Okay.
Yeah. No, and I don't see it as an issue, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So for those of you that are just joining us, hi, my name's Patty Widget. We're here chatting today about whatever's on your mind, getting your questions answered. Do have a couple of things that I want to talk about today, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page and we're all reading the same book. So if you have questions, please let me know. Let's talk. We're all here to remind each other that we're in this together, and get those questions answered, those tough scenarios, those weird things that happen to us, and make sure we're getting good solid information. It's like our little property management support group, if you will. So please feel free to ask questions and things of that nature. That's why I'm here. You get to pick my brain for about an hour, and I kind of enjoy it. Keeps me on my toes. Just wanted to talk to you guys about evictions. I know When COVID lockdown first happened, we habitually saw the majority of our rents being paid. And come the 1st of August, we are definitely seeing a difference there. I'm assuming that going into September, we may still see that difference. One of our local attorneys there in the LA area, I'm sure you guys have heard of him, Dennis Block, tweeted something that caught my attention. He said something along the lines of, everybody's worried about a tidal wave of evictions that are going to be coming through the courts once we're able to evict. But what they don't realize is it's more likely to become a tidal wave of foreclosures, not evictions. He has a valid point there. I agree with him. There are a lot of protections out there and a lot of help for tenants and nothing for landlords. So please be mindful of that. If you guys are seeing programs for landlords, for homeowners, yada, yada, investors, you may want to run. Don't walk. Sign up for it. Even if you're not sure what you're signing up for, you can always back out, okay? But you can't get in that waiting list line again. Once those funds are gone, they're gone. That's it. They're done. We are seeing a lot of protections for tenants and very little for homeowners. And I'm going to agree with some of the attorneys out there that we're going to see a wall or a tidal wave of foreclosures, not necessarily of evictions. So definitely something I want to keep you guys on the fly about. For the most part, courts are still not open to where we can do evictions. The eviction moratorium has been extended again until the end of September. This is just me talking, so just hear me. And God know you guys aren't going to want to hear what I have to say, but I'm trying to keep it as realistic as possible, okay? We all want to believe it's going to get better soon, but consensus says probably not. So let's talk about that. Let's prepare ourselves. I always say brace for impact, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and hopefully we all come out shining, right? So here's my theory, and please just hear me out. If we're extended yet again, and I'm still adding people to the room, so bear with me if you see me doing weird things. For the most part, if we keep getting this extended, we're still in shelter to place. We're still forced to give the tenants a COVID rent loan. From March 15th to now August, it's probably going to be September. My guess is, because they're now saying that we are going to start seeing the second wave of COVID come through, is that they're not going to take us off a lockdown anytime soon. What do I know? Just a blonde, but hear me out. If the second wave's just coming, why would they let us out? Just saying. Kind of makes sense, you guys. I know we want to be free, but reality is telling me that's not going to happen anytime soon when you really step back and look at the big picture. If the second wave of COVID is just now starting to come, are we going to double the time we've been on lockdown? Right? Okay, so hear me out, please. April, May, June, July, August. Right now we're at 5 months rent. We know that's going to be September. They're not going to let us out by the end of the month. So now we're looking at 6 months rent. If we have to hold 6 months rent and we're not even close to the finish line yet, how many more months are there going to be? If we're at 5 months and they're saying the second wave's coming, does that mean we're going to have 5 more months of lockdown? With that being said, and please understand there's a lot of uncertainty here. Let's take 8 months, okay? Let's say they free us up on 8 months. Well, as soon as we're free, they're not going to allow us to file evictions for the first 90 days. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11 months now, okay? Now we have to hold that rent money from COVID for 6 months, 12 months, depending on what our municipality wrote in their moratorium about the repayment of the COVID rent. So if we have to hold 8 months of rent for 6 months, are we financially prepared to do that? Once we can start the evictions, we all know, I don't have to tell you guys something you don't know. Let's go rewind California a year ago. Not 6 months ago, because that puts us right back in COVID. Let's go back a year ago. Do you guys remember the eviction slowdown And then they changed from doing everything online and digital, and then they had to retrain their staff, and it really slowed the courts down. It was taking anywhere from 4 to 6 months to do an uncontested eviction. Uncontested, 6 months. That's ridiculous. It was taking another 6 weeks to 8 weeks to get the sheriff to schedule the lockout because they were backlogged too. So if we take 6 months for an uncontested eviction and throw it in the middle of this COVID wall of evictions that everybody keeps talking about, we're talking about maybe 18 months to 2 years before we're going to be able to get out of this. As far as that goes, are we financially stable enough to float our homes for that long? Not trying to scare you. I'm trying to get you to see the big picture. Even though they're going to take us out of lockdown, doesn't mean we can turn around and start the eviction processes. It doesn't mean that we immediately have legal counsel there to help us like we normally have for the past 20 years. Things are different. This is new. All I'm trying to say to you guys is prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and think outside the box. Right now, we really don't have the teeth that we usually have to enforce the terms of our contract. Meaning, if someone is not fulfilling their agreement, if they have additional occupants, if they have dogs, if they have all kinds of things, we're not able to serve those notices and regulate our tenancy and do something about it. I mean, we can serve a notice till we're blue in the face, but it's just an idle threat on a piece of paper because it's unenforceable. What I need from you guys is to build that relationship with your tenant and get that nice and strong. If you haven't been building it along the whole entire time of the tenancy anyway, it's time to start thinking outside of the building, not outside of the box. Right now, we don't have the protections, we don't have the recourse, and we don't have any teeth. So we need to find a different approach until those teeth are back there to help fight for us. So with that being said, all I'm trying to say to you guys is if you need to get someone out of your property, we don't want to think that it's going to be 18 months before we can even start an eviction, let alone another 6 to 18 months to do the actual act. I mean, when we start really taking a step back and looking at the big picture of what we're forced with, what we're faced with, and what's coming at us, I'm going to suggest to you, because I can't give you legal advice, that in the event that you need to get a tenant out of a property that isn't paying you or something else, pay them, do cash for keys. There is no legal system for us right now. It is not helping us. In order to get somebody out, it has to be extensive. It has to be mass property damage. It has to be huge habitability issues, health and safety violations up the zoo, okay? It's got to have enough teeth in what your tenant is doing that a judge in a court of law will let you go in ex parte, so emergency hearing, and give you enough clout to violate the government order to shelter in place. So with that being said, when you think, oh, I'll just contact the attorney can do this, it can happen, is a judge going to side with you over what's going on in your property? Is he going to side with you to violate the governmental law that's in place right now? I mean, saying it that way, it kind of puts it in perspective of what's going to happen, because I'm telling you right now, if it's non-payment of rent or they're a nuisance by playing music too loud, a judge is not going to evict them and violate the governmental order to shelter in place. So cash for keys may be a better offer, and please don't get upset with me. I know it sounds horrible if you have somebody that's not paying you and they're doing all these horrible things to you. When you start looking at the two most expensive things in our business, which is time and money, and looking at the time and the money we're not going to be getting over the course of that time that we're forced to have our hands tied in this situation, we want to make sure that we're not hurting ourselves by just going with the flow and waiting for the legal process to come in. If we can offer them money to get them out, and I'm just throwing out a number as an example, let's say their rent is $1,500 a month. I'd offer them $5,000 to be gone in 30 days. $5,000, you're gone 30 days. I'll trade you a check, cashier's check for $5,000 for the keys and a broom swept unit. Bye-bye. Maybe they'll bite, maybe they won't. But there's not necessarily any harm in making a verbal contract to offer them cash for keys. I wouldn't put any of that in writing. I definitely talk to your legal counsel. If you're a property manager managing investment property, there's some things you need to know. In order to do a cash for keys agreement, it is a real estate transaction. You must either be the owner of record on the property, a licensed real estate sales agent, a licensed real estate broker, or an attorney, period. There is no middle ground. A property manager may not be able to negotiate a cash for keys settlement. You need to talk to your legal counsel. Just saying, okay? Unless you're a licensed sales agent or a broker. It is a real estate transaction, so please make sure that you have that in your head and you understand. You don't want to get caught practicing real estate without a license, okay? Just saying. So be very careful about what you're doing. Remember, you guys, I'm here to help you answer your questions, point you in the right direction. Sometimes I don't know everything, but I know a little bit about a lot of things. So I can point you in the right direction rather than have you involved in a very costly lawsuit. Remember, these are uncertain times. There's no manual for this. This is the first time this has ever happened. So we're writing history as we go along, and there's going to be blunders. They're going to maybe make some rules and figure out later that they didn't make them in the right area, or they didn't cover enough things. This is all going to be trial by fire, for lack of a better term. And I don't want anybody getting burned. I mean, that's the nicest way that I could say it. And if you're sitting in your house and you're waiting for the court system to open so that you can do an eviction, you may want to rethink that, because looking at what's happening statistically, not here in the US, but in other states, how long was Italy on lockdown? How long was China on lockdown? I mean, maybe that's going to help paint the picture for us a little bit better in understanding how much time are we looking at here. Are we going to be on lockdown till December? I mean, who knows? But I want you guys to try to prepare for the worst, hope for the best, move forward in that type of thinking, because all those protections that we have for us as landlords, we can't use right now. Our courts are closed. It makes it extremely frustrating. The city of Los Angeles changed their municipal code that you can't even serve a notice to terminate tenancy, increase rent, yada, yada, yada. Or it could cause administrative fines, affirmative defenses. Simply said, the court could fine you for doing it, and the tenant could sue the pants off of you for doing it. So why make yourself susceptible? But then what do we do when they don't pay us? So my theory is, if they didn't pay you and you feel that you need to give them something, or you need to communicate with them, try sending them a copy of their ledger. It's not threatening. It's just letting them know where their balance is. It's not saying, if you don't pay this, I'm going to throw you out. It's just a copy of the ledger. No threat there at all whatsoever. It's just a friendly reminder, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, try to be really nice to your tenant right now. And I'm not saying go co-sign on a loan for them for a car, but let me give you a couple of examples. My tenant messaged me this month. Hey, Patty, I'm not going to have all the rent on this unit at this address, blah, blah, blah. My response to her was, thank you for letting me know. Please send to me what you can and let me know when you'll be paying the balance so that I can schedule my payments accordingly. Do you know what she did? She paid me all my rent but $140. $140 short. I told her, thank you so much for doing that for me. Please keep me posted when you can pay the balance. Now she's telling me when she's going to pay. I'm not telling her when she has to pay me by, because remember, my teeth are closed. All the powers that be, I don't have right now. So I'm playing extremely nice with her and letting her tell me when she's going to pay me, letting her tell me how things are going to go. And I'm just trying to be extremely understanding during these uncertain times. If your tenant's not paying you and not talking to you, not taking a phone call, not taking a notice, do me a favor. I want you to try a totally different approach. Why don't you give your tenant a call? You know they're not going to pick up, so leave them a message and have the message go something like this. Hey, it's been a while since we've talked or chatted, and I just wanted to check in with you because I haven't heard anything about any repairs being needed at the property. Do you have any requests for service or any repairs that I need to be aware of? Because I want to make sure that you're comfortable. That's it. Reach out, touch, be nice. Think of this as a marriage, okay? And you don't want the crappy end of the divorce, okay? Please don't do that. And see if we can't bring this to a balance that works for everybody. We have to change our perspective right now to go with the flow of what's happening while looking at the big picture down the road and what our protections are. Because right now, we don't have much. We can call the police. Not because they didn't pay the rent. You guys get what I'm trying to say to you here and try to get you thinking in a different direction, because the things that we've normally done and the things that have normally happened, they're gone right now. We don't have them. So we have to think outside of the box, outside of the building, and try to find a way to make it work without breaking laws. Okay, you guys, be careful. But we have to find a way to make it work on a level that we would be comfortable with. Because if you would be comfortable with your landlord treating you that way, then that's how you should act. If you wouldn't be comfortable with it, don't do that. Okay? Does anybody have any questions for me today? Don't everybody be quiet at once. I got nothing. Are you guys still there?
Everyone else has questions. I like listening in.
Okay, no worries, no worries. I like listening to it. Reminds us that we're all connected, you know? It's like we're all still out there.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
I miss our lunches, our trade shows, our training seminars. It's how we all got together and communicated and remembered that we're not alone. So this is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's a hard business, and you know, I like what you're doing this, and I like that everyone's trying to learn from each other.
Yeah, most definitely, and it's a very challenging business. That's why I love it. You never know what's going to happen when the phone rings. You know,
it's good and bad.
You never know. It's like, is it a good phone call? Is it a bad phone call? But come on, let's face it. People don't call us because everything's sunshine and roses in their life. They call us because they have a problem, whether it's the landlord or the tenant. I mean, unfortunately, it's the industry we chose, right?
I've got a question since someone else has a question, if that's okay.
Sure.
How often do you, because I manage like 40 of these, how often do you paint the rentals? Some of them, they've been in there for a few years, some of them they haven't. But I've noticed that they've been there for at least 2 years. It needs painting, but it's hard to kind of, twist the elbow for the owner to paint, because painting isn't cheap, obviously.
Okay, so there is a lifespan on paint, and that comes through, and I'm not talking out of my own arsenal, I'm being honest with you. That comes from the Department of Consumer Affairs. It has to do with the security deposit refund. So chipping and peeling paint is a habitability issue, and they don't owe rent.
Okay.
Lifespan on paint is anywhere from 3 to 5 years. I'm sorry, lifespan on paint is 3 years. Lifespan on carpet is anywhere from 5 to 7 years, depending on the quality of the carpet. So if your tenant has lived in the property for 3 years, this is me talking to you, okay? Yeah. Per the Department of Consumer Affairs and everything that I know in my arsenal, and they move out, and they didn't do damage to the walls, but there's some scuffs here and there and a little bit of peeling here and there and some wear and tear. That's all wear and tear. They don't owe any money for painting, okay? With that being said, is the tenant asking to have their unit painted or no?
No, it's not the tenant. I know I need to paint it, but the owner's being cheap. You know what I mean?
I would paint when they move out unless they request it.
Okay, just tell the owner we're gonna paint it.
Well, individual units, interior, yes. Exterior, you may have painting, chipping, peeling, cracking. That's all things that are going to be more costly later when it gets dry rot in the eaves and things like that. So it's preventative maintenance to avoid an expense down the road. Okay?
I hear you.
So I'd approach it in both directions depending on what you want to do. And I'm going to do you a solid. So call up Dunn Edwards or one of those other companies. Take an exterior picture of the building. Okay? You with me?
Who again? I'm writing it down.
Dunn Edwards.
Dunn Edwards. Oh, Edwards. Okay.
Okay, Dunn Edwards Paint. There's another paint company. I can't think of them right now, but you'll get me.
Yeah.
Contact them. Look on their website. Take a picture of the front of the building. Okay. You'll love me for this. They will then render different color schemes of what the building would look like when it's painted. So they'll help you pick out colors that flow. So maybe if you found some colors that balance nice, you could email them to the owner. Oh, this is what we could do, and this is how much it would cost.
What about for what's it called? Interior. Do they do that for interior as well or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
They want to sell you their product, so they absolutely do.
great. Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
it never hurts to try different approaches with landlords because we are tricky little people, let me tell you. I have one, I know. The approach is everything. But if the tenant's not complaining about chipping or peeling paint and they're not asking the unit to be painted, then maybe, in their opinion, it doesn't need to be painted. They don't want to be responsible when they move out. That's on them.
Usually, no, I'm talking about between tenants because I have a few tenants moving out soon. So
Between tenants, lifespan on paint is 3 years. So if it's not new paint when they move in, how do you charge them for it when they move out?
Yeah, I'm not going to charge them for it.
You can't.
Yeah.
I know. But if it's new, fresh paint when they move in and they move out 2 months later and there's you can charge them.
I agree with you. I'm just saying with
Right.
my owners
That's
that are
another way you can sell the painting to an owner
Yeah.
is how can we charge them for paint if we don't paint it when they move in?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes, I'm trying to help you.
Yeah.
So if it's in pristine condition when they move in and it's not in pristine condition when they move out, we get to charge them for that. But if you don't have it pristine when they move in, how are you going to charge them? You can't.
That's true.
So it's just letting them know you can recoup your money. You can get this back to you over the course of time. Keeping a unit painted or painting a fresh unit is going to bring you more money in overall revenue at hello. You're going to be able to ask for higher rent if there's fresh paint and fresh carpet. If it smells bad and has dingy paint, you're going to get less rent, right?
Yep.
Right. So it's another way to get more rent. Push those upgrades. I know.
I got you.
But it's just a nice tool to use with a landlord is if they paint between vacancies, it's much easier to charge a new tenant after they vacate if we painted it before they moved in.
Got it.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple and let them know. That way we can charge it back to them and you can get your money back because that's what we want to hear. Just say it. We want to know how we're going to get our money back. Trust me.
Can you point me in the direction of where the Department of Consumer Affairs states the lifespan of paint and
Yes, it's the Department of Consumer Affairs on their website, and it has to do with security deposit refunds.
Okay.
So if you get into the Department of Consumer Affairs and Google consumer security deposit, there's everything you ever wanted to know about your dispositions of security deposit, because that's what a judge goes by.
Got it. Okay.
You're
Thank you so
welcome. That came 20 years of fighting in small claims court for that info.
Got it.
Do you
Thank
see the whole list? There's a whole list. Yes. He's like, oh.
Yeah. The blue booklet that I've been working on. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yep.
Does anybody else have anything else they want to ask or talk about today? Concerns, questions? I see
I do with regard to paint. I've had tenants, they put, especially if you have lath and plaster walls, they have to put those huge bolt things, those molly bolts, those metal molly bolts in the wall and stuff. And then when they remove them, well, if they don't remove them, I have to because I can't rent a new place like that, right? So I have to charge them for each molly bolt and then to paint over it, right?
Absolutely. That would be damage. It's actually, and this is me talking to you, it's actually modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord.
To hang a picture?
Well, if they're hanging those molly bolts to hang a big screen TV and drilling into studs, and then they leave that, it is absolutely their fault. If they're just using a regular nail and a picture hook, that's wear and tear.
No, but if they have a picture that's like 30 pounds or more in lath and plaster, you have to use a molly bolt. Nails.
Absolutely. And if they're
So
hanging
that's a modification.
right, if they're hanging a flat screen TV, that becomes a modification as well.
Okay.
Because when you undo that, it leaves more damage,
Yeah. And I've even had tenants with small holes. They spackle the hole, and then they put the wrong paint over it because they don't know what I use.
And then you have to charge them to paint the whole wall because they did modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord. And here's the tricky thing. If they would have left the nail and just took their picture off, that would have been wear and tear and fell on you.
Yeah, because you can easily.
Once they pull that nail out, they made a hole. Once they patch that hole, you have to paint it. Once they paint it and they paint it the wrong color, you have to paint it again. So if you're trying to build a good relationship with your tenant, tell them to leave the nail.
Unless it's a molly bolt. Unless it's a molly bolt, right?
Right. Okay. But if it's a regular picture nail, let them leave the nail. Okay, hold on. I have it. Is suspected drug dealing considered a public safety concern that the court may make an ex parte order to issue a summons? Could be, absolutely. Depending on if you have dates, times, and witnesses, police reports, report numbers. I would definitely talk to your legal counsel to see if that's got enough teeth. But you're probably going to have some police reports behind it in order for it to stand. But definitely talk to your legal counsel. And this is just me talking to you guys. I do a lot of stuff with law enforcement. I teach CEPTED, which is crime-free housing by environmental design. I do all kinds of stuff with our law enforcement department. I got this to tell you guys, okay? And I don't even, yeah. I don't even know where I want to approach this. So let that sit for a minute. But they need our help. They don't need our struggles. They need our help. And it's hard for them right now too because of COVID lockdown. They have no hold bails. So they're able to arrest someone, but they just have to turn around and release them again. So they're having a little bit of difficulty with all this COVID nonsense as well, just so you guys know. Yeah, not fun. All right, let me look. Hold on, I got another question that came up. Hang on. Anthony says he'll be right back. Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Any concerns, things we want to talk about? Stuff that's driving us crazy. Or in there? Oh, goodness. All right, I'm going to end this.
We were talking about paint before. If you had like a sixplex building, what's the best exterior color? If you're gonna, it's like a disgusting color now. Would you paint it white or what do you think is the best color?
Girl, I wasn't joking when I said contact. Sherman Williams. That's the other one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For free. You can send them a picture. They're outside of your building. and they will color schematic, and they have professional designers, if you will, that will come up with all these color schemes and send them to you in a pictures of what it would look like on your building, and then you can pick, and it didn't cost you a dime.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to use their paint, but it gives you an idea of what color schemes you might really like to have on your building. It's kind of like trying it before you buy it, I guess.
So is that through commercial or residential services?
You should be able to do it through both.
Okay.
And Sherman Williams, I think, is the one that does that. Dunn Edwards does it too, but I know Sherman Williams does it because they did it for me on a commercial building, a multifamily building, and 2 single-family residences because I couldn't get the owner to make up their mind what color scheme or color pattern they want.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. And we want to do something that pops, that gives curb appeal, you know, that looks nice. Somebody would want to rent. We don't want it to look like a prison.
Yeah. So I'm putting in all new windows that are the new black windows because they're so modern and, you know.
Right.
So there's only probably white that goes with black windows to make them pop. You know?
Well, not necessarily, and that's why I would talk to the interior designer at Sherwin-Williams because they'll give you those color schemes and things that you wouldn't even think of, and then you'll see it and go, that's it. It's right there. That's what I want.
Okay.
And it doesn't cost you anything to do that, so why not utilize the service?
Right. Okay.
You know, I can see if it cost you money to have them do the color schematics for you, but if it doesn't cost you anything, I say do it all day long. I used to send pictures like that to my owners. If we need to paint the building, here's the color schemes that are available. Which one do you like best? And then I just send them the pictures and let them choose. And then it's almost like they're agreeing to get the building painted, and we haven't even talked about that yet, but they already know what color they want, so half the battle's over with.
Yeah, it's just so hard fighting with HOAs because their color schemes are all outdated because the tract was built 25 years ago and they haven't changed the colors for 25 years.
Understand. And this is what I did at an HOA property that I managed. The landlord didn't disclose to me that there was an HOA. And he said to me, oh, Patty, you pick the colors and just paint the house. So I think I did a sage green with a white trim. At the time that was 10 years ago. At the time it was very hip. It was very new. It wasn't overly dramatic. It was a darker sage, a lighter window, and he actually had black frames around the edges of the windows. So it all worked together. But then he got a letter from the HOA and he said, I just wanted to let you know I didn't even open this and read this. I'm just sending it to you. And I'm like, oh God, there's an HOA? Shit. Because I already knew the color schemes didn't match. Well, you know what the HOA said in the letter? Thank you so much for painting your property. It is such a nice, refreshing view in our community. Could we please have the color schemes that you use so we could add it to our approved colors?
Oh my gosh, did you luck out?
So if you do something that looks good, chances are the HOA may add that to their color scheme. Just saying. Okay. And you can always go to the HOA and ask them to add it before you do it if you have that color schematic first.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, show it to them, you know. Yeah.
Hey, this is what I want to do. Look how much it would update our entire community here. It's not an eyesore. You're not trying to paint it purple and yellow. You know what I mean?
Right.
But kind of get your foot in the door with them and give them the idea rather than saying, no, no, no. It's, you haven't updated your colors in 25 years. You know, times are changing. Might want to change with them.
Okay.
All right. Anybody have anything else? I'm going to take that as a big no, and we'll go ahead and close this for today. We do have Wednesdays with Widget next week, and then I have a webinar with Agla on understanding the enemy on the 18th. So if you guys want to sign up for that, feel free to do that. That's on Agla's website, AAGLA. It's a better understanding of your tenant, but I originally called it understanding the enemy, and they didn't like that. So if you guys need anything, anytime, Jerry, every time you guys call me with your questions, I'm here to help you. Oh, there's something else on there. Oh, it's just a thank you. Thank you, you guys. Couldn't do this without you. If you guys need anything, have any questions, feel free to give me a call, okay? Have a great weekend. Bye.